Hello and welcome to the series on my channel where I recommend a wide range of things like books in different genres, fiction and non-fiction, manga, manhwas, anime and donghua, Asian dramas or K-pop content, and whatever else I add onto that list as time goes by. They're just going to be short mini clips that give a summary of what I'm recommending, my review of it, and why I think you should try it. So I was recently taking a trip down memory lane to remember some of the manga that marked my teenage years when I suddenly remembered this one. The name is Reimei no Arcana. Now, if you've never heard of the manga, but you're familiar with anime or manga like Akatsuki no Yona or Akagami no Shiraiki Ime, you're going to love this manga, or maybe you won't, but Reimei no Arcana is categorized as a fantasy romance shoujo manga, and I'm sure most people are familiar with the genres fantasy and romance, but probably not the words shoujo and manga, so I'll give a quick description on them. Manga are basically comics or graphic novels that originate from Japan, and shoujo is a demographic whose target audience is adolescent girls and young adult women. So Reimei no Arcana is a story about the red-haired female protagonist Nakaba, the princess of Seinan, who is forced to marry the prince of the enemy country, Belquat, in order to kind of keep the peace and ease the bad relations between both countries. Nakaba's red hair in the story is a very distinct feature because it's set in a world where nobles take pride in their black hair, so she is locked away and hidden in a tower until she's forced to marry Caesar because her family is ashamed of her hair. And in addition to having to move to an enemy country for that marriage and being a political hostage, Nakaba is also discriminated against because of the color of her hair, and her only confidant that moved to Belquat with her doesn't have it any better because he belongs to a race of people known as Ajin with animalistic traits, and they're looked upon by the general populace. So in the story, Arjin are regarded as subhuman. It's a very dehumanizing tag that I think kind of represents and justifies the way they're mistreated in the series. Nakaba's husband, Caesar, is the arrogant second prince of Belquat, who Nakaba is forced to marry, but he doesn't want the marriage either. He's a prince who wasn't allowed to choose his own spouse, and worst of all, he's now stuck with a princess that people look down on, and her attendant who is regarded as subhuman. So Caesar's character kind of starts out as that quintessential jerk character that you see in a lot of romance shoujo, but I actually really enjoyed his character development in the story, and it only takes a couple of chapters into it to see all the problems that Belquat is facing as a kingdom, even within the royal family. So Caesar, although being the second prince, is the legitimate son of the king, unlike his older brother, who is the first prince, whose mom is a mistress. So you automatically have a very interesting family dynamic there. And now, if this was a simple story about Nakaba and Caesar falling in love with each other, there wouldn't be a need to put it in the fantasy genre. But shortly after Nakaba gets married, she discovers that she holds the bloodline for a power that was feared and resulted in everyone in that bloodline being murdered by the current king of Belquat, leaving only a few survivors. So her storyline is one that's automatically set up as one with a lot of obstacles for her to overcome. She's an unwanted princess who was used as a political pawn in a marriage. And there's a line that she says in the very first chapter of the manga that literally just gave me chills. I think she said something along the lines of, "All that has really changed for me is my place of death." So she's just kind of detached herself from really living and caring, probably for her own survival. But now she also has to deal with awakening a power that her father-in-law did a witch hunt on. Like, girl, with some problems for the rest of the cast. But I say that, but all the other members of the cast were not lacking in their own problems. Caesar had to deal with his mom's dreams of making him hair when he had no desire for it, and that really complicated the relationship he had with his brother. But as he starts to fall in love with Nakaba, he really starts to open his eyes to the way she's treated and comes to the conclusion that having power is the only way to kind of make a change in that treatment. And although he and Nakaba were married to ease the relations between Seinan and Belquat, nobody's really rooting for them to fall in love. Nakaba and Loki have quite a bit of transgressions to hold against Belquat as a country. The people around Caesar will start looking at him weirdly if he treats them differently than everyone who looks down on them, because he used to be one of those people as well. And there are more things that I would like to share about the story, but I want to keep this recommendation as spoiler free as possible. But at the end of the story, you have Nakaba and Loki, who are two people who have lived through like the injustice, discrimination, and distortion of their society, and Caesar, who is now entering their storyline and starting to recognize those things because of the relationship he builds with them. They're all fighting for a society where there isn't such an imbalance in the ranking of human value, but even their method of making a change will differ for all three of them. So the story immediately throws you into a world that's marked with political strife, plot twists, and although the story has a happy ending, there are parts of it that will make you cry, which I think are great markers for a really good story. When Yona of the Dawn and Snow White with the red hair got picked up for anime, I was really holding out hope for this one as well, but it never got picked up, which was really disappointing because it was a completed story. And considering the fact that the manga for both series are still ongoing, this is also the shorter of all three of them. The 10-year anniversary for the completion of this manga was on the 24th of June. So I'm here once again beseeching all the powers of the universe and possibly you reading it that it will get picked up for an animation. So you should definitely read it because it's a short, complete story that has all the good plots of an amazing fantasy romance shoujo manga. Just binge read it today. Sleep, can't wait. See you in my next recommendation, and whatever day you find yourself watching this, make it a great one. Bye.